Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ GOONS podcast. I'm your host, Tim, the Mushmaster Spriggs, and with me, as always, is.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nico Ball. No, Nico. Welcome to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. What's up with you,
And
Tim? Oh, sorry.
oh, no, nothing. Nothing's up with me. I'm just looking out my window here, and it is snowing. It's the first big snow of the year, the first big one. I mean, last time it snowed, it was okay, but it's the first big one of the year here in Maryland, and I'm not looking forward to shoveling. But that's his life.
Yeah, suburb life. I don't have to worry about shoveling. Though I did have to get up in the morning and go to work. And I drive a Toyota MR2. So I was really worried about getting stuck uptown.
DC city life is so treacherous nowadays, and you gotta deal with the white supremacists, you gotta deal with the white snow. It's just so dangerous.
Yo, and the funniest part is I keep getting these ads on Instagram. It's like, oh, the best part of living in DC. Like, it's so like multicultural. There's so much to do. And I was like, who's ever posting these ads needs to work on their marketing strategy a little bit more. It's like bad timing for that ad.
Oh, it's terrible timing. But you know, a lot has been going on in the martial arts world despite all the craziness. I mean, Conor McGregor just got knocked the fuck out, and I did not see that coming at all.
Hey, um, you didn't see it coming, but were you hoping for it? Like, who were you going with on that fight?
If I was betting money, I would have bet money on Conor McGregor, but of course, I wanted Dustin Poirier to win. I mean, I think Dustin Poirier is just a way more likable figure, and in my opinion, he's had a way tougher road to get to the top than Conor, if we're gonna be fair. And
True.
he's kind of had a more impressive career, if we're gonna be honest. Conor has some good wins. I mean, he did knock out Jose Aldo, but his road to the 45 title was pretty easy. His title eliminator fight was against Dennis Seaver, who's like a foot shorter than him and was not on the level. He beat Aldo, and then he didn't defend that title. Then he went to 155. He beat Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez was very good, but Eddie Alvarez, he's not the best 155er ever. He's not, and he's good. He's really good, but is he all time like GOAT status? No. Dustin Poirier, Dustin Poirier had to go through a murderer's row. Dustin Poirier has lost and he had to come back, and he wasn't. I won't say that Conor was gifted his opportunities, but I will say that he definitely didn't have to go through what Dustin had to go through. And Conor kind of been the same fighter for the last few years. He didn't evolve, I don't think. But I saw Dustin Poirier as someone that evolved, kept grinding, earned his way to a title shot, won, took the hard fights. I mean, recently he lost to Khabib, and he did way better with Khabib than I think Conor did. Like Dustin, and I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So I saw that guillotine that Dustin Poirier had on Khabib, and I was like, yo, if he had believed in it, he could have finished Khabib with that guillotine. You know what I mean? So I was rooting for Dustin. I've liked Dustin since he was in that documentary a long time ago when he was training in Louisiana with Tim Credeur. So I've always known about Dustin Poirier, and for him to beat the brakes off of Conor like he did, like that knockout was crazy. Like there's no doubt, and people want to make excuses for Conor, which we can go over later, but they're making fucking excuses like, oh, it was the calf kick and da 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 da. But
What do you
nah.
mean? Oh, it was the calf kick. I mean, it was multiple calf kicks, and I think it was a well-rounded strategy. He really picked him apart. Like it was like they had a few good exchanges that were just like really, it was like beautiful just to see, like back and forth. But in the end, like Poirier just kind of outscored him. He was very technical. He was definitely going in on that leg like a savage. Like it took like minutes for Conor's leg to start turning red and getting swollen. So it was a really interesting fight.
All it takes is a few. From my experience with striking and what I go through now, only takes about 3 good leg kicks and you can be done for the fight.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, maybe if you've never fought or if you've never gotten kicked, like people don't realize like how big of a vein that is that runs down the side of your leg and how big of a muscle your quad is. So like if you start attacking that, like it'll really mess you up. And it's hard to fire off punches without being able to put your weight on both feet and really base down on the ground.
Yeah. And just that combination to finish the fight, crisp, turn the punches over. I just think that Conor just hasn't evolved. It's only going to get harder for him. If he's like 3-3 in his last 6 fights, I would say 2-4 because I don't think he won the second Nate Diaz fight because he did a whole lot of fucking running. If you're running in a fight like he did, I don't think you won. He got gift decision. I think people are still going to love him, though. I mean, he's still like a lot of people's hero, so people pay to see him, but he's not, I don't think he's going to get the easy road anymore, and it's too dangerous. I mean, at that same night, they had Michael Chandler just duff Hooker like it was nothing. But that's another development that I'm interested to see. I wish Khabib had stayed because I would love to see him versus Michael Chandler. I think that would be an interesting matchup as well, just with Michael Chandler's wrestling background, the fact that Michael Chandler can knock you out with the hands, and I don't know, man. I think if Khabib came back, he'd have some problems. He'd have a lot of problems with a lot of guys because I saw that last fight. Khabib did great, one of the best runs ever, but you got to get your striking right. If there's one thing I've learned recently is that if your striking is not on point, you can have a really tough time. And there's only so long that you can go with just grappling. It's only going to get you so far.
Very true, very true. You need to be well-rounded, and I think a lot of people when they go into MMA, at least a lot of amateurs, they don't realize that. Like boxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, they're all very different sports, very different techniques.
You did a lot of striking. You wanted to be an MMA fighter. You understand like I do now. It's like striking is a fine art. It's just the art of being able to have a proper stance, turn over your punches, and knowing how to be on the defensive before, during, and after you throw a strike. It takes time. I think a lot of people, especially since it's a jiu-jitsu podcast, jiu-jitsu people that want to do MMA think that, oh, this jiu-jitsu will save me. They don't know that it's a whole different world.
Very much so. Very much so when you're training. And like I'm actually a brown belt in kickboxing. So I started off doing kickboxing and training minorly in a gi, no gi, never in a gi. And it wasn't until I moved to Brazil to do jiu-jitsu and I was training with Novo Yao that I actually started training boxing with just boxing coaches, like not inside of an MMA gym and not just to prepare for like a kickboxing fight or a Muay Thai fight. And boxing is definitely a lot different than kickboxing. Like you learn, like when they call it the sweet science, it's like very technical when you break it down. And there's like the technical aspects of like, how to turn over a punch, like how to use your hips, like how you need to base out on the ground. And then there's like that movement thing. And I think Sadiq's coach, his conditioning coach, Keith, you know who he is?
Square fit guy?
Yeah, the Square Fit guy.
Or
Yo, that would be amazing Patreon content. We should make you go to Square Fit with Keith and just record it like you dying and Keith screaming. That would be great. But what they do is it's a lot of movement, like inside and outside of squares, like just constant movement because it's not just knowing how to punch, it's knowing how to get the hell out of the way afterwards too.
hard. It is hard. It's like having grappling footwork and boxing footwork is rough. Coach Jamal calls me Ogie the ogre because my footwork is very just, it's just a constant struggle.
Can you dance?
Another thing. Yeah, I can dance my ass off. Like I can do it, but it's hard because like I'm trying to get my hips right, throw the punch, and then like step, and then throw kicks, and it's just being very technical. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to be. It's like I came up under Master Lloyd, so technique. He's a stickler for technique, so I'm obsessed with doing it right. So even when I'm moving my feet right, it's just like, okay, you've got to step out of the way like this, stay on your toes, throw that punch. Where's your head at? It's just a lot of stuff going around in my mind at once, trying to make sure it's correct, because sparring and MMA, kickboxing is way riskier than it is for jiu-jitsu. And like I've been saying, but I don't think I've made it public, is that, man, modern jiu-jitsu is not enough to save you in a real fight. It's not. I don't think
I
it's
mean, like,
enough.
yeah, of course. Yeah, you need situational awareness. Like, you need to know when to run. Like, you need to know
I,
a lot of
even
different things.
even not even in a street fight, in an MMA fight, like I think like 10, 15 years ago, the best guys in the world were better equipped to fight in a cage than now. Just the philosophy is different now. Like if you watch the first ADCCs and now you look at it now, it's like totally different sports almost, because now just the rules, right? In jiu-jitsu, you're forced to engage on the ground, right? It benefits a guy that's just going to sit on their butt and pull guard. It makes it easier for them to survive. But in MMA, if you're not doing shit on the ground, or the person on top just can stall you out or hit you, I don't care. Most people that play guard now, they're not going to be able to attack under the clock in 5 minutes or less. A lot of their shit is, oh, I'm just going to try to curl up in a ball under you and I'm going to roll up. And the top guy can get penalized for stalling. And I always hated it, not just because like the rules, I hated them because not just that I'm a takedown guy and I like to be on top, but I don't like how if you're on bottom, you can win the fight just by being on bottom and not really sweeping the person. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not realistic. If it's an even match and you're on your back the whole time, you're gonna lose in a real fight. And that's what jiu-jitsu was. So yeah, I don't think modern jiu-jitsu guys are really prepared for that unless they take a lot of takedowns and they learn how to get up and they don't get comfortable just being on their back and just being complacent, eking out advantages. Get the fuck up. Like you got to get up.
So when are you going to be making your fighting debut?
When the coaches say I'm ready, I am in no rush. I just spent the last 5 minutes telling you how I have a hard time with my footwork and bouncing on my toes and doing and how hard it is to have proper technique. And I'm a stickler for technique. So I'm just going to take my wants and needs out of the equation. Whenever the coach says I'm ready, I'm ready. I would love for it to be this year, but I'm not going to have my hopes up. But I have enough grappling matches and competitions to pay me and keep me busy. So there's that.
That's always good. That's always good.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot. I mean, I just had a match last weekend, which was interesting to say the least.
I mean, yeah. How was that? Like, I mean, you, I didn't, you guys are always so big. I always complain about how big guys are, but like, Cyborg is just so short and stocky. And then watching you go off the mats, you guys never stay on the mats. How you feel after the fight?
I feel good. Whenever I can get out of a match healthy and with a bigger pocket full of money than before, I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? Like I got paid. I got to go on a nice trip. It's in the middle of a pandemic, and in Florida, they don't think coronavirus is real. So I felt good. I think my performance was very good. I think that I won the match. I know for a fact I did because I went into Miami, which is Cyborg territory. His whole affiliation was basically in the building, and he just kind of like didn't do shit the whole match. Like the rules are you have to go for submissions, and I don't really think he went for any. Like
Yeah,
I
he
shot
had
in, he
like
went.
he had like takedown attempts, but you were really going at it, and like even the last 10 seconds, like trying to go in for like leg locks and everything. Like you definitely weren't feeling like the conditioning for it being your first time out after quarantine.
For a year. I was locked down for a year, and I was kind of concerned before because he's very good. He won 2020 Grappler of the Year, and he beat up Lucas Hulk a few times recently. He tapped Kynan. He wins all these tournaments, and I'm just little old me in Maryland, just in my home gym or like in the bubble at the gym, trying to get as much grappling in while I'm doing MMA and Muay Thai training. And I was getting pretty anxious, but I had a really good warm up. Shout out to Master Lloyd for sending me to warm up. Shout out to all the homies that helped me warm up in the back for cornering me. So like, yeah, I just was very concerned. But when I got out there, I was super focused.
Who went
I've
down there
gotten
with
real.
you?
I went solo dolo. I went solo dolo, yo.
That's always got to be
I
tough.
It was tough, but like the thing is, like, no, everybody was just kind of like with their own thing, you know. And Master Lloyd wasn't gonna go. Master Lloyd still teaches class with a mask on, you know what I'm
Master
saying?
is paranoid as hell. Yeah, so I was gonna ask you, like, do you normally do this kind of stuff alone, like, or was it kind of because of coronavirus that you didn't take anybody? Like,
Originally, originally, like I was just going to try to see if I could get Atacola to come because he's from Miami, right? So I was like, "Ow, just you know, come on down, sign up." Well, I told him first, register to compete so you get this money because shout out to Fight to Win. They're one of the only events that pay grapplers well. And I know you're a young, dope ass, broke ass grappler. And I know you want money. I know you want to compete. I know you want to go home and see your people come through.
right?
And I would have gotten us a flight where like we would have had enough time to like do our thing on the mats, but like he comes go see his family or whatever. Like he's from Miami. He's a Miami guy. But he ended up not doing it. I figured Master Lloyd would have been not wanting to go. Like I didn't even bother asking because I'm like, Master Lloyd not gonna go now. Man. What the fuck? Like he's wearing a mask. He's scared to death of catching the Rona, and rightfully so. We all should be not want to get it and avoid it if we can. I would have asked Ty, but Ty has been busy because he works in hospice care. You know what I'm saying? So like he, you know, everybody who knows Ty Ryan Murphy, one of the best guys out there, he's always had my corner, but he's got a family. He's working. You know what I'm saying? So he's busy. And eventually I was just like, yo, fuck it. I'm just gonna go in there like a Navy SEAL, in and out by myself, solo dolo. Go out there like a hitman, go in, collect some necks, collect some checks, and I'm out. But I gotta give a special shout out to Shan and Micah, because those people really helped me. Micah's a brown belt down there. Shan, she's a blue belt. She was running me through my warm-up. And Micah was cornering me and helping me with the warm-up as well. And I gotta tell you, Nico, like I should take a year off more often because as soon as the music hit and as soon as like I was out on the mat, it was just go mode. And I felt great. Like I said, I really pushed the pace. I did not feel tired. I was chilling. Like if you watch the match, I was just like relaxed. I was going for my straight arm locks. I was going for wrist locks in the guard. I went for a guillotine at the end, and he tried to do like, you know, the little rib noogie like they try to do, and they're stuck in their head stuck, and they try to get out. You know what
Oh
that is?
yeah, like kind of like trying to like
You
drive
have
your head
siblings,
in.
right? Where they do the little tickle.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
like you
no.
know a
Like no,
noogie,
like I'm
right?
125. I do
Like
that
they
in
did. All right.
jujitsu. What are you talking about, siblings? I do that in jujitsu. Yeah.
Yeah, he tried to do
Got
that to
all the
me.
dreadlocks.
He
I
tried to do
will
that to
rub.
me. Yeah, but he did the thing into my ribs while I was guillotine. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like
Ah.
what?
Who else did
I
that?
was
That happened in
so
a UFC fight. Who tapped to like a rib pressure?
a rib
Uh,
crusher.
who was it? Yeah, he was getting like crushed, and he were like riding up on his ribs the way Master Lloyd tells us to do with his shoulder. I think it was like a Woodley. He tapped to just pressure on his ribs.
Oh, his rib was broken. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, him driving up on
But
you.
it wasn't. No. I'm all right. So I had Cyborg in a guillotine, right, Nico? His hand is free. He's not punching me, but he's doing the thing where it's like a noogie, but he's like trying to dig his knuckle
That was
into
at the
my
beginning
rib.
of the fight, right?
At the end, when I had him in a guillotine for like a whole minute, I was like, "What the fuck is that? Like, that's weird." But anyway, like, I thought I would fucking win the fight, but it's home cooking. I mean, I'm expecting to get fucked over by the refs. I'm an American that does jujitsu, or you should be expecting it. But you know, I figured like the refs would do so, would not fuck me that bad. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. I got a check. I got good experience. I'm supposed to fight again in March for Fight to Win.
Oh, nice. Where at?
Austin. I want to fight in Austin. They asked me. I said Austin, and it's in March. They haven't given me an opponent yet, but I told them March, so we'll see. We'll see. I want a lot of activity this year on the grappling front. I definitely want to do that ADCC trials in November. I don't know if they're actually going to have it. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everyone gets vaccinated. Hopefully everyone is clear of this bullshit and we can go outside. Not now because it's snowing, but hopefully we go outside.
Come on, Tim. You scared of a little bit of snow?
No, I'm not scared of the snow. I just don't like the snow.
Me neither.
A little pet peeve of mine is when people be like, I love the snow. I'm like, motherfucker, that's because you probably don't have a job. And if you do have a job, you don't have to go and drive in this shit. Like, it's treacherous out here. Like, you said it before.
No, going out this morning really sucked. And then I had to keep like looking out the window and like, do I need to like just hurry up and run home? Like,
you was looking.
Yeah, like I was sitting, like, because I woke up, I had to get up at 6:30 to go to work, and like when I looked out the window, there was already snow on the ground. It had already been snowing, so like when I was driving to work, it was snowing the whole time. So like come 12, like I was concerned. If it did get really bad, I was either gonna need to like know someone could take me home, because last time somebody had to drive me home in a truck, or I was gonna have to roll out early.
Damn. East Coast struggles, baby. Northeast struggles.
Yo, 2021 struggles. I left my house for the insurrection because I live on Capitol Hill. I left my house for the inauguration because the insurrection. So I wasn't about to stay around for the inauguration. And now dealing with winter. It's like fantastic.
Fantastic. And it's only been a month into the year, and we already got to deal with this shit. But man, you were telling me earlier about people beefing in the flow comments, right?
Yeah, it's like the DDS boys. Is it always the DDS boys?
I guess. I think it's just that they get the most attention because
hold on, was it Conor
them.
that actually started this? So it's like, all right, what's been going on? So like first Gordon Ryan and Kyan were beefing because I guess it was Kynan that said he wanted to fight Gordon, and he was just like, oh, so I can beat you like I did before or something. And it's just like, there's like 160 comments like of them just like shit talking. I don't know how people have time for that.
Apparently it was a post about how Atos was undefeated against DDS. And then of course DDS got butthurt about it. And they said, like, how is it DDS when they didn't fight Gordon and Nikki or something like that? But I think kind of did just beat Nikki. I don't know if it was this year. I think it was 2020. I don't really remember. But then they get in this whole bitching fit about why do you only do competition? Kind of said you guys only do fights in your rule set. And then Gordon's like, oh, you mean IBJJF? Which I can kind of see the argument. But at the same time, it's like you guys just do no gi. And Kynan is redacted world champion in the gi, and he's the ADCC champion. It's just very interesting, like the beef in jiu-jitsu. And I think it's very strange for this sport for a couple reasons. One, when people talk about beef, it's not really beef. It's just guys bitching at each other and talking shit online about a hobby. I mean, this is no different than like when I'm on Twitter and I watch pro wrestling, and it's like pro wrestling Twitter where people bitch at each other about like this guy's better than that guy and da 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 da. But then it would be like if the pro wrestlers got in on what the fans are talking about. You know, it just comes off as very strange. Like we're not promoting a fight or a match. And if we were, it's not like we're getting paid millions of dollars to talk shit to each other online. It's basically we're just trolling each other for no good reason. And
I
it's
think
just
people
very
think that
weird.
it gets them attention and likes, and that media like is a good reason for some of them. It's very validating for some people, I think.
I think clout and media, social media attention is our currency as a society now. And that's bad because I just think it's dumb. It just looks dumb that they're talking shit to each other like that. Like you guys could just have a match. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you guys are talking shit to each other, but the thing is, when you guys are in the same room, it's not like y'all really about to fight. You know what I mean? And like, if we're gonna talk about the argument, like this whole goat shit or all this, like who's the best? Like, all right, let's compare. Like, yes, Gordon did beat Kynan, but if we're gonna compare them as martial artists or we're gonna compare their careers, Kynan kind of had the better career and is more well-rounded. And you could argue is better at jiu-jitsu just because Kynan is more diverse. You know what I'm saying, Nico? Like Kynan won. I mean, he cheated, so he technically didn't win, but you're in a sport was predominantly run by cheaters.
But
He beat
he competes in a more diverse rule set as opposed to like DDS.
yes.
They really do stick to their niche. And like I've had a lot of conversations with people like, you know, is that really a bad thing, or is it like, you know, they do what they do and they're good at it, so and they get paid for it. And
It's
I think
just kind of cheesy to me. Oh, go
it
ahead. I'm
becomes a
sorry.
bad thing that like it's cheesy because people put so much emphasis on it in like social media and this or that. It's like, why do you care? Like, I don't know. To me, it's like I never care. It's like what. Hmm.
It's like, but it's weird. It's like, I don't like how it stopped. I don't know when this happened, but when it comes to sports or when it comes specifically to jujitsu, it's not so much what you've done, it's what the spin is on you. And it's not so much who's really great, it's the spin. So when the guys started doing this no time limit jujitsu shit, of course they're going to be ahead of the curve and of course they're going to have an advantage. But when a whole bunch of people are fans of you, like in Gordon's case, all they're going to say is like, oh, this is the real deal because Gordon said it. No time limit submission only is the thing because, I mean, that's the real test of jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, when has it ever been the true test of jiu-jitsu? No. How does that make you the best because you were a specialist at this one style of fighting and you just so happen to beat guys that spend time doing all the types of jiu-jitsu, but you're really good at this one niche, like, and you can talk shit about it but people like it? That's kind of weird. That's kind of dumb if we're being
Yeah.
honest. And like
I mean,
is a Kynan is a world champ, is great at gi and no gi. There's no taking that away from him. There's none. But I think they should fight. Instead of y'all talking shit, I just want to see the match. Y'all should match up again. And another thing too, which I had to say, like it's easy to talk shit to guys, but like you can't be a tough guy. You can't claim all this tough guy shit if you only do one thing. That's like me talking shit to MMA guys and being like, yo, you guys aren't real. You never did it before. Like Kynan can win an ADCC title. Gordon can't win a gi title. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Kynan can do both. So at the end of the day, I think Kynan won this shit talking fest. But it's just so weird. Like, why are I
But
couldn't be
are
on
they going
comments
to
all day.
fight? Like, are they gonna fight? Are they gonna fight? Is my question, or is this just an Instagram post that's been like republished and everybody's talking about?
I don't think they're gonna compete against each other anytime soon. These guys never competed against each other. I mean, they might at a tournament. Maybe it's a way that Flo or whoever promoter is just, maybe they have a backdoor deal where they're just trying to get attention for a potential match.
I
But does
mean,
that affect the purse? Like, that's another thing too. Like in other fight sports, they only do shit like this if they're trying to get paid.
I mean, it is a numbers game. Everything's a numbers game. Getting like maybe all the shit that happens on social media is going to help them get paid, but I think it's important for us to realize that social media is not news. Like, it is what it is. It's social media. It's personal. It's subjective. Like, and like that's what you say. People just like they just take it and like don't even internalize it. Don't think about it. And that's why
Don't
people just
even.
follow it. Like I have a friend that's like a big Nicki Rod fan, or he'll come around and like say like shit that he's quoted off of like Instagram and read, and like he just loves them. Like he's a big fan. And that's to say like Nicki Rod isn't great at like wrestling, like he doesn't do a lot of dope stuff, but like do any of us care like what his workout routine is? Like no, but like he's like enamored, and it's like all right, that's cool. Like he is who he is, but just realize there's like a lot of other people out there. It's like
The cult of personality, I think.
mm-hmm.
It's a cult of personality.
Yeah, and I think it's really dope. Like, we did an interview with Ricardo Amendolia where he talks about like some of the more, you know, just different aspects of jujitsu and like bringing it back to like where some of the competitors are actually getting their things from. And it's like he actually seems like American jiu-jitsu. I think American jiu-jitsu for me would be Ricardo Amendolia, who is a Canadian with like Italian backgrounds. So like yeah. It's like a conspiracy. It's like the Wizard of Oz. Like, no, it's Ricardo is behind everything, I think.
It's behind it. The puppet master.
So if you, well, no, I guess this episode will drop first. So like, yeah, stay tuned for that one. Check that out.
For sure. Speaking of actual news, though, Nico,
Oh,
you brought me a story about the Gracie clan. And I say clan for a reason. They're actually called the Gracie clan. But the Gracie family, you sent me this article about on the Daily Beast.
Wait, who sent me this article actually? Where did I get this article? It was just so beautifully done though. I think I got it from New York. I think I got it from Pob's friend. But it was just beautiful. Like I almost shed tears.
Talk about it.
All
like,
right.
what did you like about it?
I mean, like, so, and I think we're gonna get into it a little bit later about all the whole racism in jujitsu and the shit that went down with Manny Reyes. No, what is his name? I forgot his name
Manny Ray
already.
Gonzales.
Manny Ray Gonzales. So we had an episode on that. So behind the scenes, like a lot, like we've been having a lot of conversations about, like racism in the jiu-jitsu, the community on like a community and a personal level. And then somebody just reached out and like they're sending me content like this. So this article though is just so beautifully done. Like I had written an article on Manny Ray and I try to just really like link everything that had happened. But these people went on the Gracies. And they started with Henner, who has like this belief that police need more training, and that's why he has like a tactical jiu-jitsu class for cops. But like, and they were very factual, so they started with that, and it was just like, okay, where are you going with this? And from there, they just like went down the rest of the Gracies like an execution line. Like it was like a firing squad. It was just beautiful. Like from Henzo's quotes, Henzo quoting Nazis, like direct quotes, and his response on Twitter. They had the links to the actual Twitter account. They had screenshots to it. Everything was just beautifully documented on Henzo using the N-word and defending his use of the N-word because he has a black aunt or something like that. He's got it in his blood. What else was on there? It was just like a beautiful display of some things that a lot of people have been very upset about in jiu-jitsu, and then others have like the audacity to go out and deny that even happens. Like we were talking about, some Brazilians are saying like there's never really been cases of racism in jiu-jitsu, where in fact, Helio Gracie's like really goes back to having a very conservative family that's kind of supported all of this bullshit that's been happening. So it's a really educational article. What else was in it? What am I missing?
They talked a lot about their support of political right-wing strongmen, fascists back in the day. They quoted this very good book. I don't know the name of the author. I forgot his name, but they cited their sources. Like they were very thorough. They talked a lot about the same stuff that we've been talking about I think they talked about the incident where some Henzo guys from Philly or some part of like New Jersey were like harassing peaceful protesters during the Black Lives Matter marches this past summer. All that stuff. And the author that they cite, that guy's really thorough. He talks about it too in his book. We should get him on the podcast eventually somehow. I don't know. He speaks English, of course, because the book is in English and
Hey, we can
Portuguese,
get
but none.
translators.
Yes. So, I mean, this guy talked about how Hodger got in trouble for some shit he did back home. Like, very thorough accounting of the Gracies kind of supporting of right-wing, racist, xenophobic bullshit. And, it's very disturbing.
Wait, this
It's
is where they
very,
had the info on the charges on Ralph Gracie, right? I didn't even know about that.
yes, they had a link to the Half Gracie charges. We can get in that too. When Half sucker punched Flavio Almeida at Nogi Worlds. Ironically, that's the one that I won. I remember though, it was like a shit show because they were like,
Oh,
the
you
cop.
bringing the ruckus. You bringing a ruckus, Tim. Of course, when PG County go over, shit gotta
That
pop
is
off,
strictly a
yo.
Brazilian thing. I'm
Mm.
not from PG. I'm from Hoco. I'm from Howard County. I don't. I'm not PG County guy because all the PG guys would be offended if I claim it. So I'm just gonna rep Howard County. But anyway, uh, yeah, it's very disturbing how people kind of idolize the family, the Gracie family, and then you see this misbehavior and it kind of gets swept under the rug. You know what I mean? But a lot of people don't know about this stuff. Um, how do you feel about it, Nico? Like, how do you look at the way they're acting, and especially with the whole Henner saying, like, supporting. You guys are gonna have to read the article, but basically he's kind of just giving a cop out for the police, and he just goes along this same talking point that it's not that police should be defunded, it's not that police need to change their attitudes, it's just that they need more training. How do you feel about that first, Nico?
Uh, how do I feel about police needing more training?
Yeah, because a lot of his shtick, Henner's shtick, is like,
Oh,
you know, you know, in the article they talk about how he's just one of these people that says it's not that police need to not do excessive violence on minorities, disenfranchised people. They just need more training. What do you think about that line of thinking?
I mean, like, I think they definitely need more training. Like, I don't know what episode number it was, but it was when we had Musine on the podcast, and he was talking about that you get more hours of training to be a hairdresser than you do to get to be a cop. So I definitely feel like law enforcement needs more training, because you got to think, like, even like me, who's a martial artist, when I've been in like situations of like assault or issues, like, I've frozen and I've had issues and I have training. So you got to think of like a cop that's actually does fear for his life. Like, they need to be trained and know that, like, I posted something to Instagram, like, from my Buddhist stuff, and it was like, even when you're training and you have a natural disaster, you forget what, like, you learn. Like, you need to be trained and you need to be conditioned to do that, even in shock, when you're surprised, like, in bad reactions. And I don't think that they have enough training. And then when people say that, like, cops just going into jiu-jitsu academies to try to have this kind of training is going to solve the problem, like, that's also very true. I know a lot of assholes that train jiu-jitsu, and like this could also just, perpetuate the problem. It's like very hard to have like enough oversight. But
I just think this is very despicable behavior. By all accounts, it just makes me feel gross. It makes jiu-jitsu look bad. I think that if jiu-jitsu wants to go mainstream, it's gonna have to like really separate itself from this type of behavior and really like come to bear with all the bullshit involved. It's not very welcoming. It's just very dark. It just makes me feel bad to be affiliated with the art if the whole founders are on this bullshit. But I'm glad that I know the art so that I can use it for good. It's kind of like Star Wars with the Force. There's two sides of the Force. There's the dark side of the Force, and like you can choose to use the dark side, or you can be a Jedi. You can be a Sith
Mm-hmm.
Lord, a Jedi. You know what I'm saying? You have a choice, which is good. We
Hey,
have a
we all have
choice.
choices. Another
It's,
thing, another good thing that happened is like the Manny Ray Gonzales thing. I had written an article about it on Favela Jiu-Jitsu. Again, the goal for that was just to like document everything that happened. Like again, we put up all the screenshots of the phone calls and everything. You can't really deny it. But now the Sacramento Bee has also come out with an article, and Dom Hoskins had told me that they were working on something and it had just kind of been delayed. And today you told me that the article is actually on Yahoo News. So that's really dope. So for all the people that are upset because, you know, people aren't getting a voice or this is going like unheard, you know, it's on Yahoo now, and that's what's up.
yeah, it's great. I'm very happy that journalists have like taken a hold of this story and really wanted to put it out there. And they do reference the Half Gracie thing because this guy is a Half Gracie black belt, and how Half sucker punched Flavio Almeida.
Oh
It's very
God.
good. Like, I think that it's weird. It's one of the few times that journalism and jujitsu have met, because we were having this discussion with Ricardo Amendolia the other day about like what journalism is and how we expect Flow and other outlets to be journalists when it's not their job. But then it's refreshing when you see a story, although sad that it has to deal with this bullshit. But when you see a jujitsu story being handled by a journalist, whether it's the Daily Beast article about the Gracie's ties to the far right, or whether it's the Manny Ray Gonzales incident, and you see like how they like bring it, they do this research, they do their research, it's no spin, it's the straight up facts. And I think it's great that it's on the Sacramento Bee, which I'm assuming, I'm not from Sacktown, so I don't know, but apparently it's a really big fucking deal to be in the
uh,
Sacramento Bee in Sacramento. It's an actual newspaper where they have a, you know, they have some kind of journalistic
hey, it's
integrity.
legit. It's legit. It's hard to get
Legit.
legitimacy out here.
Yes. And then to see it and you're like, oh, wow, like this is what it's like.
Mm-hmm.
And now a whole bunch of people know about it. But the good part is that it's showing that a lot of us are not okay with it. I think that is good. I hope that jujitsu gets out there so that journalists can kind of do stories, not so much the negative, because this is a very negative and sick story, but that you can tell a story with no spin, and like we can see the whole of jujitsu. You know what I mean? Like we can see what is actually going on. And you know, we talked earlier about the social media thing where there's always drama on social media. And I kind of hate social media, Nico. Like it's the worst. I fucking hate it. Like if there was a way
Uh,
for me to live my life without it, and we do great things with it. Like
then how
we
would you date,
network with
Tim?
it.
How would you date?
I don't date anybody. What are you talking about, Nico? I
Okay.
don't
Okay.
date.
Well,
I'm married. I'm
Patreon
married
content.
to the
Yeah,
game.
he
I'm married
lying.
to that. I mean, define dating. But I don't like social media, and I think it's so negative. And a lot of the news we get from the sport is from social media. It's not real articles. Like, when's the last time you heard some shit on
Uh,
jiu-jitsu?
I mean, like, I don't know, like, cause
Articles like
I hate
that?
social media, but like, I don't consume any of that bullshit. And like, I'm a very big supporter of like curating your feed and your community. I get very beautiful things on my social media. Like, I find news, I get news from like Portugal, from, you know, business people out there, or just positive people. Like, you can block out that bullshit. It's just most people don't like. So that is the issue with social media. Like, it most people go to that dark side, you know? And I don't think that's social media. I think that's society.
Wow, that is true. If you think about it, like when in our lifetimes, like when I was a kid and you were a kid, you were just exposed to just the worst, most vile parts of society ad nauseum, and you had to carry it with you everywhere you went.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I enjoy the article. I hope that we get more positive articles in jujitsu, and it's so refreshing to see footnotes. It's so refreshing to have links with actual proof of shit that actually happened. You're like, oh, I remember that.
told
Oh,
you
that's
I
true.
almost shed a tear. I told you. It was
I'm
beautiful. It
like,
was so well
oh,
written. It was so well written. And you know, since like all we do is like really produce content, or we've been producing so much more. I mean, you do the podcast, but like I started off as a writer. Probably not a lot of people know that because I do a little bit of everything, but like what I really was passionate about was writing, you know. So I love to see more stuff like this happening.
yes, very good article. I do not have the author's name right by me, but we'll put it. I'll share it to my social media because I think it's great.
You did. You put the links down there. Who is? I'm looking for it. Oh no. Okay, it's Simi. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Simi Carter Grammar.
all right, Simi Carter,
Simi. Yeah.
Simi,
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll go like it with a personal first name basis. Simi. Simi wrote this.
Simi,
Simi.
Simi Grammar, Simi
No.
Grammar. Shout out to you.
But more importantly, it's on the Daily Beast, thedailybeast.com.
You're right, Nico. We do produce a lot of content. The Goon Studio is almost done. We're doing a lot, learning a lot on how to do audio and visual. It's a lot of trial and error, guys. I'm telling you, it is hard making a fucking podcast. Okay, it is hard. Let me tell you, I'm just gonna go back. Like this microphone that you guys see, or you're listening to on the audio, or you're seeing on YouTube right now. This was like the beginning of the podcast. Like me and DJ would sit in my basement, which now is like there's a huge mat area. But before it was like a couch.
Professional.
It was like two chairs, and it's me and DJ blitzed out of our minds just talking shit into this snowball microphone. And like now we have a soundboard, we have lights and everything. And we're producing all this content for you because we want to improve. We want to get it out there. Like Nico, I don't know if I told you this, but I have aspirations to be like a real media person. I don't think I've told anyone this. Like my dream is to have my own show. Like, you know, Maury, right? Maury Povich.
Wait, hold on.
I
Hold
want a
on.
show
You
like that.
wait, did you just say real media, but then go to Mari Povich, who's your father though? Like he
He
is
is
not the daddy. He is not the father. I'm sorry. He is not the I'm sorry.
Nico.
That just made me smile. My bad. Like, yes. I'm not
Damn,
laughing
really?
at your aspirations. I was just like, all right.
I'm like, damn. I'm trying to have a moment with all the goons out there. I'm trying to tell y'all about all the
Yo,
nice
you're
shit.
taking
Y'all
it
just
back, but
laugh at
you
my.
do like the old school. It just makes sense. Like, cause like I just went to the whole like theater, the old school studio with the chairs where the people like are actually there, the live audience. I just had an image, you know.
Cause you imagine, I would kill that shit, man. I'm just saying that's my dream. But I feel like I have to build up to that, and we've been building up to that. So we are building the Goon Life BJJ Goons Studio. We're trying to bring you guys a lot more content. We're gonna give you a lot more clips to put on social media. Curate your feeds. Delete all the bullshit. Just follow us. But we have people reaching out about creating content. And we're gonna keep on doing that, and we're gearing a lot of what we're doing to a Patreon. All right, because I like Patreon. I have a couple Patreons that I follow, and I enjoy it because it's a great way to support the movement that you like, that you have feelings for, that you want to support. You know, the more you think about it, you know, social media, having a podcast, it can be censored. Like you can get taken off of Facebook, you can get taken off of Instagram, you can be demonetized on YouTube. But if you have an OnlyFans or a Patreon, any of these type of platforms, not only can you not be censored, like podcasts have sponsors, man. Like if you have a sponsor, there's some shit you just can't say. You know, we have sponsors here on the BJJ Goons podcast, but we want to be able to say what we want, how we want to say it, in the way we want to say it. And we figure the best way to do that is to have a Patreon. And it's a good way for us to support ourselves. And it's good, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're trying to pay some bills here. We want to give you that raw content, not just, you know, the stuff we talk about on here, but exclusive content for you guys. I mean, we've had a couple interviews where we go in depth, you know, about people's lives, about real shit, right, Nico?
Yeah. And I think even more than the exclusive content is just being part of the community and being able to communicate and like let us know about what kind of content you want, what you want to see from Tim, what you want to see from me. It just really kind of helps us plan and make things easier, right? It does half our job for us, I
Yes.
guess. No. But like I know some people have been having some questions. Like you said, we're gonna open up a town hall for content creators, people that have been asking questions about how they can get into creating more media, how they could work with us on some projects and stuff like that. And it's just a lot easier to communicate all of that through a Patreon community.
Absolutely. And I really want to just show you guys my techniques, but I don't like just giving them out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And I like to work when I'm showing techniques on what people want to see, and I like specifics. And if you're able to join our Patreon community, you can get in touch with me on a more personal level so that I can kind of bespoke what I'm showing to you guys, you know. And I really want to do, like we talked about this earlier, Nico. Like I want to do some real interviewing, like some real shit. Not sometimes some of it might not be necessarily jujitsu related, some BJJ goons after dark type stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
like a different kind of segment and stuff like that. A little bit more for the community. That'd be interesting.
Untold stories of being a black belt. Some black belt story. Like some shit. Like Nico's heard these stories, and you guys have not seen the whole side of the Mushmaster and like what really goes on in the dark, seedy
In Abu
underbelly of the
Dhabi,
jujitsu.
four corners of the world.
Four corners. Yeah. So, guys, be on the lookout for the Patreon. As soon as we get all our content ready, as soon as it's ready for you guys, we will let y'all know. And it's going to be lit, as the kids say.
End the episode. All right. On that on that
On
note.
that note, I am old and washed. Okay. I am old and washed.
Yes. All right. Thank you for listening to another episode of the BJJ Goons podcast. Tim is going to go get some Bengay. Lay down with like
And
a hot
Alka
press.
Seltzer.
Lay down with a
Yes.
hot press in his bed.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, have a gin and tonic and a nice cigar. But make sure you guys stay safe out there. Thanks for always listening and supporting the podcast, folks. You can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram or Facebook. The DMs are open, ladies.
Tim needs a salsa dancer. Tim needs a salsa dancer to help him with this footwork so that Coach Jamal don't get on his ass. All right. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the BJJ Goons podcast. Go follow us on Instagram. Tim, like he says, hates social media, but like all of the clips that are going to be coming up and stuff about the Patreon is going to be on the BJJ Goons Instagram.
Peace.